Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm going to be drawing one of my viewers' original characters. So let's get started. So the character that was randomly picked this time is Sarah. Sarah was created by Shetty Potato. She is 14 years old. Her species is a humanoid dragon, so she's part human, part dragon. Sarah is very shy and is always worried that she will mess things up. She wants friends but is too nervous to talk to anyone, so she spends most of her time drawing and reading books about humans. Due to her fire powers, which she can't control, she often ends up burning her books while reading them. So let's start drawing Sarah. So first I'm trying to come up with some ideas of what pose I want Sarah to be in, and this first pose kind of had her pointing and creating like fire around herself, like maybe she's kind of experimenting with the fire, and she's just kind of in a 3/4 view and the fire is swirling around her. But I wanted to try coming up with some different ideas. So here I have her sitting at a desk, and she's trying to read a book by not touching the book. So she has like a metal stick and she's like turning the pages of the book. That just felt kind of stiff, and I wanted this picture to include the fire since that's a big part of her character. So I was thinking of going with my first one, but then I'm like, okay, let's try another one. So with this one, she is in front view and she's kind of staring at her hands like she's scared of them. And she ends up making fire with them. And I was thinking of going with this one, but I was having a really hard time with the hands in this position, just because they were slightly coming towards us. So here I was trying it again in side view, but I don't know, I didn't like that one either. And here I was thinking about maybe having her like sitting on the floor and she has fire kind of going all around her. So yeah, I was trying to come up with a lot of different ideas for this one. And here I was trying to sketch out the front view one a little bit more because I did really like that one. But like I mentioned, I was having a really hard time with the hands, and yeah, I just couldn't get it to work. So I actually ended up going with my first initial idea. I could have saved a lot of time if I've just gone with the first one. So Sarah is super duper cute, and she almost has like a slight chibi quality about her. So I really kind of wanted to keep that in her design. I wanted to keep her looking really small and cute. She is 14, but I kind of drew her more like she's maybe like 11 or 12, just because I wanted to keep those really cute kind of chibi-like proportions. I felt like this pose almost didn't express how much she doesn't like her fire powers and how she has such a hard time controlling them. Because here she's kind of creating the flame and it looks like she has some control over it. So instead of having her pointing, I have her palm open and the flames are just kind of come bursting out of it kind of uncontrollably. And she is holding a book in her other hand up by her chest. But then I'm like, well, if one hand is letting out fire, the other hand should probably be letting out fire. So I actually have her drop the book, and she has both hands open and flames are kind of shooting out of both hands. I really kind of wanted to express how she doesn't have any control of her powers. I didn't want to diminish her struggle that she has with them. I wanted it to look like she struggles with them. And here I have the book and it's on fire. So I was really quite nervous about the fire because I knew there was going to be a lot of it. So after doing my rough sketch, I did a cleaned up sketch, and now we are moving on to the line art. I skipped myself doing the cleanup sketch because I thought it'd be fun to show the line art, because usually I kind of skip the line art, and here, this is real time right here, but then I speed it up so you can see how slow I go. I'm really quite slow when I do line art because it's a kind of time consuming process. I think the line art took me about a little over an hour, I think. So I wanted Sarah's expression to look surprised but kind of scared, like she almost wasn't expecting for her fire powers just to shoot everywhere while she's reading the book, and she's kind of scared of them. But don't worry, she's okay. There's flames everywhere and it looks really dramatic, but the flames kind of poof into existence and then they quickly poof away. So nothing super bad happens except that the book kind of gets burned, which is sad. So when working on the line art, I often have to undo and redo a lot of things. You'll often see me drawing a line and then the line poofing away and then redrawing the line. Here I was having a really kind of hard time with the hand. The hands were really tricky, especially when I was working on them during the cleanup sketch. I had to redo them multiple times because it's kind of tricky because I never really have hands in this position where they're just kind of raised up and the thumb is towards the torso. Like, I always have a hard time with poses where the thumb is away from the viewer. I always prefer the thumb to be going towards the viewer. I always just find that easier. And so that pose of the hand was really tricky. This hand was also kind of tricky. I know it looks kind of stiff, but I knew it was going to be mostly hidden by the flames. So I didn't worry about it too much because I'm like, the flame is pretty much going to be covering the entire hand. So I'm not going to stress out about the stiff looking hand. And here I'm starting to work on her hair. I absolutely love her hair. Her hair is so pretty and it's got a slight wavy texture to it. And I really like drawing wavy hair. It's really, really fun. So yeah, I really like her hair and it's really cute. And I tried to make it look like it's kind of poofing up, like maybe the flames are kind of making like a poof of air. It almost looks like the hair is surprised. Now in here I am starting to fill in the base colors. And yeah, I mostly just used the picture as a reference for her base colors. And here I'm working on the background. So for my screen recording program stopped recording when I was working on the background. But basically I just used some brushes and then I used a bookshelf brush that I have. And it makes a whole bunch of random books that can go on a bookshelf. So yeah, I didn't draw the bookshelves myself. I just used a brush for that. And here I am working on the basic shapes of the flames. This was kind of tricky. I was looking at a lot of different references of fire and I was trying to make the flames look really random and kind of zigzaggy, but not like they just like went zigzaggy back and forth, like really uniform. I was trying to give the flames like a texture, but that wasn't really working. So I decided to just take the blending brush and to start blending out the flames to kind of make them look more flame-ish. And I just try to blend it out. This was really quite random. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of like, oh, well, this looks like this can be smudged, and I guess I'll smudge this and blend this. But I feel like it turned out looking pretty cool. I feel like they look kind of like flames and they look kind of fiery. They start looking a lot more like fire when I start adding all of the shading to them. But working on the flames was really, really fun, and like I mentioned, it was one of the parts I was really nervous about with the picture, especially the lighting and the shading, because I never really work with fire in my pictures, so this was definitely a learning experience. I also tried to follow some online tutorials. Maybe I'll link to them in the description if I remember which ones I followed. There's this one that was really, really helpful that I found on YouTube, and so I mostly followed that one. And here I am starting to work on the dress. And so when it comes to lighting with fire, it goes from a white to an orange, and then on the edges it goes really red. And so when working on shading her skin, the brightest parts are more of a whitish yellow. And then it kind of goes to an orangey. I'm actually applying the shading. So I take a darker color than her skin tone, and then I just applied shading to all of her skin, and then I erased the parts that I didn't want there to be shading. I'm adding the red shadows. I made the shadows red to make it look really, really warm. The shading was really, really fun though, and I had a lot of fun experimenting with it. I'm starting to add the highlights, so I'm taking some yellow. I can't remember, yeah, it's not set to add glow at the moment, it's actually just yellow. And well, there I set it to add glow. So yeah, I drew some yellow and then set it to add glow for where I want the highlights to be. And because the flames are kind of under her, I have her underlit. And I thought having her lit from kind of underneath would make it even more dramatic and make her look even more scared. And so I wanted the picture to be kind of dramatic. Here I start adding the lighting to the hair, and here's where I kind of getting more of the hang of this warm lighting thing. So with the skin I did the yellow highlight, but I really should have done an orange, and I kind of learned that because doing the orange and then doing a white or yellow really makes it look a lot more warm. So for the hair, I did the orange, and then later I'm going to add the white and yellow. So here for her skin, I'm changing the yellow highlight to an orange highlight. And I also overall made her skin more warm. I felt like it was a little too cool before, and it wasn't really blending with all the colors. And here I'm adding the whitish yellow highlights to make it look even brighter. And yeah, I was really trying to push the highlights and the shadows of this picture because I wanted it to look really dramatic, and like the flames were super duper bright and creating all this light. So yeah, I was really trying to push myself to not be chicken and be like, I was trying to really force the contrast is what I'm trying to say. I'm kind of adding just a gradient of yellow and orange just to kind of help blend everything together. I didn't go too end up with her scales, I just kind of added a slight gradient to them. The eye shading was pretty standard, but instead of shading the white parts of the eyes with a blue, I used kind of a purpley red because I'm trying to stick with the warm theme, so I tried to stay away from cool colors. And here I'm starting to work on the flames. So on the parts that are far away from her hands, I added an orange and red gradient. And then on the inside of the flames, I go with a soft brush, and then I put some white set to add glow. And then I make the flames that are right by her hands really white because this would be the hottest part of the flame. And here I'm going in and just adding a little bit more highlights to her because the flames are kind of wrapping around her and kind of causing some more highlights on her hair and her skin. I also just try to push the shadows a little bit darker and just add more highlights. But I feel like the flames ended up looking really cool, and I'm really happy with them. I also just kind of add some more red lighting to the picture to make it look really warm. Her face kind of seemed like it wasn't sticking out very much, so I actually applied just some white highlight all over her face and then lowered the opacity. This makes her face slightly brighter than everything else, so it kind of helps bring more attention to her face. And here I'm adding the flame on the book, and this was really fun, kind of adding the burned edge and then the flames kind of coming off of it. Right now I'm just making some fake text to go on the book. I took a random font that just kind of looked like random jumbles of letters, and I just pressed random buttons on my keyboard and then I transformed the text to fit the shape of the book. I feel like the book ended up looking really cool. And now I'm just kind of adjusting the levels and just trying to see how I can push the highlights and the shadows to make everything stand out. I also added a cast shadow behind her to make everything kind of more dramatic and help her stand out from the bookshelf. So here's the finished picture of Sarah. I had so much fun drawing her and her fire abilities. The fire was so much fun, and I learned a lot while working on this picture. That's one thing I really like about these I Draw Your OC videos, is that it really pushes me to try new things. And today I got to draw fire, so that was really cool. So thank you so much, Shetty Potato, for submitting your OC. I absolutely love her, and I had so much fun drawing her. Before I end this video, I want to say thank you so much to my patrons, including Rachel, Andrew, Bonnie, Cash Money Matt, Julie, Robert, Tamalam, Pizza Terra, Ann, Magic Gamer Dad, Eduardo, AJ, Fallen, Nari-chan, Daniel, Aaron, and Patrick. Thank you so much for being a patron and for your support. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!